the starting job if he wins the starting job. That's a major test. Well, listen up, Eagles fans, because your young QB didn't just pass it, he aced it. No pride hurt, no offense taken, only respect given to both his coach and Joe Flacco.
I know in all of those different avenues, all those different values and principles that we're, trying to instill here in Philly, no one is above that, and everybody got to go to work, So for me, I know rent is due every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that rent's due, I don't plan on missing no payments. So it's work.
Our midweek squad here, Willie McGinest, Joe Thomas, and Cynthia Freeland with us tonight. Now, was anyone surprised by Jalen Hurts not being even a little bit fazed by QB competition? I wasn't, not like he hasn't been in a similar situation before. But do you think there's actually a contest going on here, Willie?
Absolutely not. But the coach is supposed to instill and tell everybody it's a competition. And he does want everybody to compete across the board. I get it. He's a new coach. He's trying to build a culture there. He wants people to not think that they're going to just get handed something. They have to earn it. And I think Jalen handled this perfectly. He comes from a system in Alabama where everything that he said, everything that this coach is trying to instill has been in place for years. And he's also been down this road before where it was a competition. And he lost out to Tua. And he handled it like a professional. He's a high character guy. He's smart. His demeanor is the best. And he's not gonna say anything outside the box or against the team because he understands all those things they're trying to instill. He's already been through. I love this kid. I love the way he handles the situation. But at the end of the day, Nick, this is your starter, okay? I love Joe Flacco. He's done a lot for this league. He was a good player, but his time has passed. Jalen Hurts is your quarterback. If you want to eliminate one more distraction, let's not have questions about who's going to start at the quarterback position. This kid was drafted in the second round. You got rid of Carson Wentz because you saw what he brought to the table, and he is the guy for the job. So I'm just saying, as a young coach, you can eliminate some distractions by not even talking about this and give him the start and let him get going.
Yeah, Willie, don't pee on my head and tell me it's raining. Coach, I realize that everybody in Philadelphia already knows that Joe Flacco is not going to be their starting quarterback. They got rid of Carson Wentz. They got rid of Doug Peterson because they wanted to build a team around Jalen Hurts. And I've been around plenty of these quarterback competitions, some of them real, some of them bogus. And honestly, everybody all the way down to the locker room boy understands that Jalen Hurts is going to be named the starter at some point. And it just depends on how long Coach Sirianni wants to play this game about who's going to be the starter and that it's a competition. But in addition to competition, he wants to build trust and honesty with his players. And so the longer he goes down this path of it's a competition, the longer it's going to take for this offense to develop and coalesce around Jalen Hurts. Because what do you do in training camp if it's a true competition? You have to split reps with your offense. So not only are you giving less reps to Jalen, but you're giving less reps to the guys on offense who are going to be catching passes and listening to play calls from Jalen in the huddle. So the sooner Coach Sirianni tells everybody what we already know, that Jalen Hurts is your starter, the better for the Philadelphia Eagles to move forward and to start to build that trust in that offense amongst all those 11 starters.
Yep.
You know, at first, I thought that maybe Coach Sirianni was just showing his inexperience with doing pressers. But now I kind of think he's brilliant because he's distracting us from asking a whole bunch of other questions like, what's going on with Zach Ertz? What are you going to do about the O-line? How are you going to keep Jalen Hurts progressing with these wide receivers when last year you didn't make such a great pick? Any questions about the front office? Oh, no. We're all distracted looking over here at this fake quarterback competition, which I do think the coach is trying to instill a culture and create the right atmosphere for success. But it's also is actually kind of smart. Maybe Nick Sirianni knows a lot more about this than I gave him credit for because he's distracting us. And now we're talking about this instead of all these other real questions.
All right, I hear your theory here, Cynthia, but this sleight of hand, I mean, to what end? Is it to Jalen's detriment, like Joe was saying? But just here's a little bit of what Jalen Hurts has already faced in the short time in the league. He went from being a second-round pick in a surprise destination to the successor of a former franchise QB. Oh, and he's on head coach number 2 in just his second season. Speaking of that, former Eagles QB, Carson Wentz, adjusting nicely in Indy. The Colts posted this video of Carson Wentz on the field getting a throwing session in. The caption simply, "Hey there, Carson Wentz."
The Cowboys, that's Jerry Jones welcoming somebody to the team.
And with the 12th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Michael Parsons, linebacker, Penn State.
He is a heck of a player coming to Dallas.
You go watch his pro day. It's one of the best linebacker pro days I've ever seen. You can line him up anywhere you want. Dan Quinn's going to have fun with him. He might be a double-digit sack guy. He's that good coming off the edge.
This guy is fast. He's explosive. He is downhill. Hopefully the commissioner's going to be all right.
Me and the boy Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch are there. Let's turn it up. We're going to make it LBU again. Let's get it.
Remember when we thought Jerry Jones was going to find a way to get Kyle Pitts in the draft? Well, they went the entire opposite direction, focusing on defense. In fact, the Cowboys' entire offseason zeroed in on improving the defense in Dallas. Mike Garafolo joining Willie and I now for this one. The entire football universe was screaming, "Improve your defense." Not that the Cowboys needed that reminder, but that's exactly what they did this offseason. So how will the Cowboys' bolstered defense stack up in the NFC East this season, Willie?
Well, I think it started with Dan Quinn, the hire of Dan Quinn, the offensive coordinator. And the first thing he's going to do is he's going to simplify things and put guys in the right position. Under Mike Nolan, this defense, they had guys playing out of position, especially in the front seven when your defensive ends were in a 2-point and they were dropping out. Those guys' hands will be in the dirt. They'll be rushing the quarterback. They'll be sound and fundamentally running the right technique. On the back end, they won't be overloaded with coverages. They'll have the same coverages they ran in Seattle. These guys will master those coverages. There won't be a lot of mental errors. Those guys will all be on the same page. Communication is important, and being on the same page, which eliminates a lot of those big plays, which put them at the bottom of the league last year. They didn't control the front because guys were all over the place, so they gave up a lot of rushing yards, which also put them at the bottom of the league. And guess what? When now all that happens, you give up points. So there'll be a little more order. Guys will be on the same page. The mental errors will be gone. Guys will be playing their right positions, and there won't be a whole lot of thinking. Guys will be able to react and play extremely fast.
They were hesitant last year. They were unsure. They were uncomfortable,
right.
Willie. Not just the guys standing up, but also the linebackers. We saw Jalen Smith out of position a lot, and then because of his frustration, maybe not finishing plays, then it became a question of effort. It really wasn't effort. It was more just that frustration that continued to snowball there, and they were lost. Now, look, you had Aldon Smith, who used to be there, who knew that Mike Nolan's scheme, if you played it accordingly, could be effective. And he was trying to tell these guys, look, buy in, and they just had trouble doing that. So that's why Nolan is out. That's why Quinn is in now. And Willie, when you talk about the simplification up front, I would also say what's going to happen for these linebackers is they're going to have more defined roles. I think you're going to see Micah Parsons, though he's a linebacker, is extremely good as a rusher when they bring him. So I think you're going to see pressure from Parsons. I think you're also going to see Jalen Smith be asked to go forward at times as well. And then Leighton Van Der Esch and Neal are going to be the two guys that are going to be asked to cover at times as well. So I do believe having more defined roles and understanding what your role is as an individual player will then help this unit to play well. And look, we all know what the offense was doing with Dak Prescott, who was on pace for 6,000 yards. And by the way, that pace wasn't even a full 5 games because he didn't finish that 5th game. Just play a little defense, and you'll have this team feeling good about their overall prospects. Yeah,
Mike, 8 out of those 11 picks were on defense. And when you talk about the linebackers having a bigger role, well, look at the Seattle defense with Bobby Wagner and K.J. Wright. Those guys are dropping in the coverage. They are doing a lot of different things. They're very versatile. And that's what you have with Jalen Smith and Micah Parsons, 2 athletic linebackers that can do a lot. They'll be on blitzes sometimes. They'll be in coverage sometimes, and you'll use them a lot of different ways. But when you have a good coordinator, he doesn't just throw a game plan out there and try to make the pieces fit. He devises a game plan around his skill set and the personnel that he has. And I think that's what Dan Quinn is really good at. He'll put guys in position to win and play to their strengths versus confusing them and overloading with things that they're uncomfortable doing.
And guys, we essentially know what these rosters pretty much are going to look like. Now we have the schedule, right? We released it a couple of weeks back. So we dissect it for a living. But now it's your turn at home. Help us out a little bit here. Head over to our Instagram story at NFL Total Access and give us your prediction on how many wins the Cowboys will have today. What's the latest on his knee?
Yes, MJ, Antonio Brown had a procedure on his knee this week, a minor procedure, which is what you say when it's not your knee that's being operated on. But nothing that is going to hold up a deal that is not official yet. Look, we reported last month that the deal was agreed to, and the Bucs haven't announced it yet because it hasn't been signed. He has to go through his physical. That's what Jason Light, the general manager, and Bruce Arians, the head coach, have said. Now, I'm told that after that procedure, he's got a couple of days of just follow-up appointments and just some things that you need to do post-surgery. And then the expectation is that he'll be in at some point next week to finally take that physical and to sign that deal. I know a lot of folks were looking into some of the moves and who got drafted or whatnot. No, the expectation is as long as Antonio Brown checks out physically, that he will sign a deal and be back with the Buccaneers again. Another name on a long list of guys who are back as this team tries to repeat in 2021.
Yeah, just a couple more steps, it seems like, until that is made official. Mike Garofalo, thank you.
Picked up! Griffin picks it off, coming near side. A beautiful play. Shaq Griffin. Fitzpatrick is going to throw inside. Ball picked off. It's Shaq Griffin.
Shaquille throws the ball up into the stands. First down. And the pass. Oh! Great play. It is by Griffin.
He was covered well by Shaquille Griffin, who tipped it away.
Ball tipped up. Ball's intercepted. Shaq Griffin intercepted.
And there it is. There is the moment, signed, sealed, and delivered, where Shaq Griffin signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And how lucky are we, because we have the man himself on Total Access today. Shaq Griffin, cornerback now for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Good to see you, my friend.
I appreciate you having me today.
Now, has it been a little bit of a dream come true to sign your first free agent contract and play in your home state?
Oh, yeah. Man, the feeling was so unreal. I feel like the story of me getting the call when I agent first made it happen, and everything that happened with my brother running outside, throwing up from excitement. It was just, it's stories that I'll never forget. So, man, it was just so unreal.
I'm sorry, wind that back. He did what from excitement?
So, yeah, before I even told him the news, I guess he seen, like, when I answered the phone call, my agent told me the news, I kind of just dropped. Like, whoa. And I guess he must have knew from instinct, like, he knew exactly what happened. So he ran outside. I don't know where he ran to. Ran outside. Next day he came back. He's like, oh, man, I just threw up. Oh, man, I'm so excited. So I was like, okay, yeah. It's something I'll never forget.
That is amazing. Listen, I remember covering you guys together in that Seahawks locker room for many years to come. I remember asking you, all right, y'all are roommates. Are you ever going to separate? I guess it was that free agent contract that had to do it, right? It was going to come at one point.
Yeah.
But he is happy for you, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He better be.
No. He's got to be. This is what it's all about. Now, when it came down to deciding on where you were going to go, how much of a deciding factor was it that Urban Meyer was the new head coach in Jacksonville?
Oh, man, it was just having so many discussions with my agent. We talked about, of course, we talked about Seattle, and we talked about, eventually coming home back to our home state. And, and with Urban Meyer being there, I feel like the best thing I can say is he was starting something new. He believed in something that can be something great. And I wanted to start my own chapter somewhere different. You play with guys, future Hall of Famers. You got the Bobby Wagners and all the guys on his defense that made a name for himself. They're so awesome to be able to play with guys like that. But now I get a chance to start my own adventure with a coach that believes in the guys who he signed, the guys who he drafted, and the players on his team. And, the same guy that believed in me, I believe in him. So I want to be a part of this team who's going to make history and change this organization around. So, that's the part I fell in love with, and doing it in Florida is no better feeling.
You mentioned this whole new chapter, right? I feel like it's a whole new book, not just for you, but for the Jaguars organization. New coach, new QB. What's the feeling right now amongst the players in Jacksonville?
Oh, right now the excitement is crazy. You know, everybody's buying in, everybody's believing what we have here. You know, and that's the main thing you have to do. You got to continue to believe in something that's bigger than all of us. And, you know, and everybody's buying in, everybody's buying it and working so hard. And I actually heard today, you know, during the interview, they said we almost have everybody at attendance for OTAs, and that doesn't say enough. That should say everything. You know, these are guys who are willing to take the time for voluntary workouts to sit here, get a chance to know all the new guys, all the new faces. You know, that says a lot. You know, we're trying to build a family here and something that we all can count on and believe in. And everybody's buying into it. So the energy is just insane. You talking to the players who've been here before, they saying just from us starting already, the couple weeks that we in, it's a totally different feeling. It's a totally different vibe, and everybody's willing to work hard and push each other to another level. So it's been amazing.
There's a lot of layers going on in Jacksonville for sure. And, of course, a lot of talk of a certain former quarterback getting invited to camp for a tryout at tight end. Now, is the potential of maybe getting to cover, perhaps maybe getting a few hits in there on a former Heisman Trophy winner getting you excited at all?
Most definitely. You know, I'm definitely going to give my best to make sure I'm making him better and he's making me better. So, you know, the competition is always going to be there. But understand the guy who's been under my before, who knows how to win and know what it takes, you know, to have a guy in your locker room like that that's going to be awesome. And, you know, anybody who's willing and who can help this organization, I'm all for it. And, you know, I believe in him and I hope he believes in us. So I'm excited about it.
Shaq Griffin going literally from one end of the country to the other, getting ready to start a whole new vibe in Jacksonville. Shaq, thanks so much for coming on.
I appreciate you again. Nice seeing you.
One school of thought says that the Aaron Rodgers saga in...
I'm a bad man. I'm a bad man.
Aaron Rodgers, he's come in with a vengeance.
I'm a man with a chip on my shoulder where my history used to be.
What a throw. Beautiful. Beautiful. Followed by Aaron Rodgers. 400 touchdown pass. What a play. What a play. Oh, what a play.
There we go.
Aaron Rodgers for the league MVP.
Baby, I'm a real bad man.
That's a bad man right there.
And a big hello here to former Packers offensive lineman T.J. Lang. Thank you so much for coming through. Now, T.J., you spent most of your career keeping that very bad man we just saw nice and upright there. Now, from what you know of Aaron Rodgers, what was going through your mind when you heard reports that he was unhappy in Green Bay?
It's tough. It's tough to hear, only because Green Bay, being there for 8 years and having a lot of good friendships, guys that are still playing, this is really the one team in the league that you don't really hear a whole lot of, unhappiness coming out of the facility players-wise. So it's tough. But you know what? It's been a wild couple weeks, I'll say that. I don't know where the truth lies. Somewhere in the middle, I'm assuming, with the reports of him wanting out or him wanting people fired. I don't know if it's as extreme as what we've been hearing. I think there is some trouble there. At some point, I don't know how serious it is, but I think there's a middle ground. I really do. I think it's going to take both camps to kind of give up a little bit, take a little bit. And I think there's a middle ground. So I'm very optimistic that Aaron's going to be back in Green Bay, not only this year, but hopefully for another couple years.
I'm saying the marriage counseling could work here, TJ. I think Green Bay fans would definitely like to see that outcome. Now, you won a Super Bowl together back in 2010. Do you think the frustration of not going back is perhaps a big factor here for Aaron?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of buildup. I think not necessarily at the organization for not getting back to the Super Bowl, but we had a lot of chances. Look, in 2014, we had a really good team. Couldn't get past Seattle in the NFC Championship game. Same thing in 2016, couldn't get past Atlanta. And obviously the last two seasons, they've been very close, couldn't get past San Francisco 2 years ago, and then obviously what happened against Tom Brady. I think that definitely adds up over time. I think there's frustration. I don't think that it's all necessarily put on the organization for not doing the right things. But, yeah, I think, look, Aaron Rodgers is the one guy that he's been there so long now. And I think the one thing that he's always wanted, probably going back maybe 5, 6, 7 years from when I played with him, was he wants the organization to do something uncomfortable once in a while and go all in and go get a couple players that are going to help us win now. Stop worrying about 3 or 4 years down the road and who's going to play and who's going to be the starter here when this guy goes or moves on to free agency. Let's worry about winning a championship now. And I think when you look at a lot of other teams in the league that are doing that, looking at Tampa Bay, who obviously Tom Brady comes in, they go out and get pretty much every single piece that he wanted. And you look at something like the Rams, although they haven't won the Super Bowl, they're comfortable giving up first-round picks to go get a player or two that are going to come in and help them win right away. So I think Aaron Rodgers takes note of that. I think that finally probably hit the breaking point to say, you know what, it's time that we start doing this, because I think he sees the writing on the wall, not only with the Jordan Love pick, but also with his age and getting up there in years in the NFL, that he knows his time is probably limited. And I think he wants to win another Super Bowl. And I think he wants to do it in Green Bay.
You know, TJ, I wonder if you were still in that locker room, what would you be saying to your other teammates as all of this unfolds and develops in the very public eye?
Well, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, obviously, you know, playing 10 years in the NFL, there's always going to be a guy or two that they're going to have a business dispute with management and with the front office. And you try to stay away from that as a teammate. You try to give the guy his space and the respect that he deserves to kind of work some things out. But it's tough right now sitting in the locker room, because I don't think there's a whole lot of guys that know how this thing's going to play out. And I think that's the frustrating part for a lot of those guys. Not maybe frustrating, but maybe just having the unknown. And if you're Aaron Rodgers, you look around the locker room and how well respected he is and how much he respects his teammates. You look around and you have the best receiver in the NFL in Devontae Adams, one of the best running backs in Aaron Jones, the best left tackle in football in David Bakhtiari, I know, coming off an injury. But I'm sure there's a personal side to him that's saying, you know what, I've obviously got to take care of my business, and those guys are going to let me take care of my business. But we've got a lot of unfinished business as a team. And I think he just cares so much about his teammates that at the end of the day, that's why I'm optimistic to say I think he's going to return in Green Bay. I really hope he does, because I think he needs that for his legacy, but also he has a lot of really great relationships with those guys in that locker room. I don't think he wants to let down as well.
Tremendous insight here and context from the man who was charged with protecting Aaron for so many years. TJ Lang, thank you for coming through, sharing that with us. And I'm just like you, I'm sure Green Bay fans are hoping for that same outcome.
I hope so as well. Thank you for having me.
All right, Willie, I'll send it to you and Joe for Players Only.
Thanks, MJ. All right, Joe, we've heard from former players, current players, executives, media personalities. I'm going to flat out ask you, will Aaron Rodgers start the season as a Green Bay Packer?
Yeah, Willie, he's going to be with the Green Bay Packers in 2021. It's so late in the NFL calendar. We've already had the draft. We've already had free agency. Right. Most teams already have their quarterback situation figured out. And the few teams that would be willing to trade for Aaron Rodgers probably won't be able to give enough up to be able to get true value out of that trade to find that win-win that the Packers would want. So if the Packers aren't going to get a king's ransom for Aaron Rodgers, they're just going to play a staring contest with Aaron Rodgers and say, we dare you to hold out. And I think Aaron Rodgers realizes that he needs more championships if he ever wants to be able to be considered one of the greatest of all time. Tom Brady, we see what he's done with all the championships that he has won, and then now going and doing it again in Tampa. Aaron Rodgers realizes that everyone says that he's one of the most talented of all time, but he's not yet in that GOAT conversation because of the Super Bowls. And in the end right now, if push comes to shove, he understands that the Packers have a team that can win a Super Bowl right now. So play this season, and then he had to have a better opportunity to be able to get traded at the end of this season if he still wants out.
And Joe, I think something that TJ said was really important, that he really cares about his teammates and loves playing with his teammates, and it's about team as well. But when you're put in a certain situation and you want certain things and you've built up a rapport and you've played consistently at one of the best and coming off an MVP season, and all you want is the respect to talk to somebody about what's going on with the franchise, where are we headed, you know, what moves are we going to make, like we're just feeling like you have equity. Although they may not do anything that Aaron really wants, or they may not agree on certain things, at least having that conversation makes me feel like we're partners and I have some type of equity in this game, on this team, which he does. So in saying that, I think what you said is 100% correct. They have lost the leverage. I think Aaron Rodgers has all the leverage. You will not get what he's worth right now because of the situation and the time it is, the time frame where it is. People are not going to give up a king's ransom, like you mentioned, for Aaron Rodgers because they just don't have it right now. So you got to be and figure it out as far as upstairs, personnel, coaches, and Aaron Rodgers. Let this man have some equity, give him what he wants, come together, have that big boy conversation, and if somebody has to move out of the way and let somebody intervene and have that conversation with Aaron and smooth things out, that's what needs to happen. MJ?
All right, thank you, Willie. One of the best parts of football is that roar of the crowd. And while there was a limited capacity for fans in specific stadiums across the NFL, last season saw more cutouts than humans. But as more people across the country get vaccinated, the closer we get to that shared experience. Here's Judy Batista.
When the NFL released its schedule last year, it was written in part in pencil, anticipating the adjustments needed to play through the pandemic. It took extraordinary cooperation and flexibility and games on every day of the week, but the NFL played its entire season on time.
We back in the flesh, baby!
Without missing a game.
Leaping grab Devontae Adams!
Without interruption.
Bucs win the Super Bowl!
It was a great success, but something was missing. Stadiums full of fans.
Their presence was deeply missed, but we're making do with what we got, and at least we're playing some football now.
More than 1 million fans did attend games last season, including vaccinated first responders at the Super Bowl. But once the games were over, 21 stadiums and team facilities turned into vaccination sites. From Foxborough to SoFi, more than 3 million vaccines have been administered at NFL locations.
To us, that's what is most important, is that we're helping getting our communities vaccinated.
A critical component of the safe return of fans to root on their teams in person this season.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
The NFL wants as many fans in as many stadiums as is safely possible when the 2021 season kicks off this September.
On the medical side is a lot of encouraging data about the relative safety of the outdoor environment.
So the next 4 months of vaccinations are important, and we'll all get a reward for making it back. A 17th regular season game. Who doesn't want to see Tom Brady's Bucs versus the Patriots? Or Packers Chiefs? Or a clash of the first 2 draft picks, Jacksonville's Trevor Lawrence and the Jets' Zach Wilson. Last year was a season like no other. This season, though, will give us what we were craving then. A big step toward normalcy and the cheering we all missed.
The NFL's Fan of the Year contest returns for 2021, and we're looking to celebrate more extraordinary fans who are positive influence and inspire others through their love of football. Visit NFL.com/Fan of the Year for your chance to win and attend Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles. And we heard Judy say one step to normalcy while the Vikings are doing their part. Justin Jefferson